Welcome to my humble abode, darlings. Come in out of the rain and get comfortable. I have a story to tell you, and I hope you enjoy. If you do, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Hello, my darlings. Today I have another story by Huntalex. This is part 1 of part 3. And as you'll see, it's right up my street. Anyway, we went to Sabotage, a fox hunt. They weren't hunting foxes. Part 1. I remember when the first time I saw something die, a squealing hare, limbs twitching, eyes wide, ripped apart by whippets in the village green of Norfolk. I was only 6 years old. I couldn't scream, couldn't move, couldn't do anything to help the creature. Just watch the group of men cheer as the fresh blood soaked the hedgerows. That moment rewired something in me. Since then, I've spent my life pushing back against the cruelty of blood sports. Anything from badger baiting, stag coursing, and of course, illegal fox hunting. Now I was behind the wheel of a rusted van rattling down narrowing country lanes, the kind that twisted like veins through the ancient woodland. GPS had given up 10 miles back. The trees grew taller here, ash, yew, and hazel, forming arches overhead that blocked out the late autumn light. A strange quiet settled, the kind you only notice when you've lived too long in cities. In the back were the crew, Sophie, sharp-tongued, fierce-eyed. She'd grown up in inner-city Wolverhampton, got into animal rights after her dog was poisoned by her neighbor. Once smashed a grouse-shooting estate's window with a brick wrapped in a wildlife trust leaflet. Nick was quiet, ex-army. His 1,000-yard stare never left him. Bat out here in the green among the bramble and the birdsong, he came closest to looking human again. This work, sabotage, resistance, was his therapy. Tom was the youngest, barely 23. He came from a long line of country folk. His grandfather ran fox hunts in Yorkshire. Tom once helped flush out a vixen when he was 16 and had nightmares about it for years. He joined us, our guilt maybe, or because he believed redemption was real. We rounded the bend and the village emerged. Harlow's Hollow, a pocket of time untouched by modernity. The houses were stone and ivy choked, roofs slanted and sagging with centuries of rain. There was no signal, no streetlight, and no traffic. Just a creeping mist and a church bell that rang at the wrong time. A hand-painted wooden sign read, "Welcome to Harlow's Hollow. Tread lightly. Walk right." We slowed as we passed a crumbling war memorial and a small schoolhouse with boarded windows. 2 boys played football barefoot in the mud beside it. They stopped as we passed and stared, silent, unsmiling. "Feels off," Sophie muttered. "It's like stepping into 17th century painting that doesn't want you in it," said Tom. We parked beside the only pub in town, the Broken Heart. Its sagging roofline leaning as if trying to collapse on itself. A pub sign swung in the wind, a red stag with its belly slashed open. Inside, the smell of beer, vinegar, and wet stone hit us first. James was already seated at a far table by the fireless hearth. He looked like the land itself, deeply creased, sun-beaten, carved out of the earth, and bad luck. He didn't rise when we entered. He raised a hand and gestured us over. "You're the saboteurs?" he asked in a low, gruff tone. "Yeah," I said. "You're James?" He nodded. "They're hunting again in a few days' time. But this time it ain't no fox they're after." We sat, ordered pints. The barmaid said nothing, eyes flicking to our boots, our gear. A man at the bar was carving something into the wood with a penknife. A fox? A man? It was hard to tell. Nobody smiled. Nobody spoke. Above the hearth hung a tattered watercolor painting. At first glance, a standard fox hunt, riders, dogs, the blur of red coats. But when you looked closer, the figure being hunted didn't look vulpine, though. More humanoid. Later, when the place emptied, James leaned in. The firelight caught the lines of his face. "They've taken children before," he said. "Always made it look like runaways. Accidents. But I know what I saw." Sophie frowned. "Who's they?" "The Darrow family. And the Hollow Hunt. Lord Darrow and his inner circle. Been doing it for centuries." He took a deep swig from his pint, shaking his head. "Foxes at least keep the rabbits from eating my cabbages. These bastards. They run hounds through my pastures, kill my sheep, piss on my fences like they own everything." Sophie slammed her glass down. "Why hasn't the village stopped them? How can you people let this sick fucks get away with this?" James's eyes narrowed. "Because they're afraid. Because they remember." Then they told us the folk tale, passed down in dark corners and unfinished verses. The weird was once a man, or something like it, a keeper of balance between man and beast. He pushed deeper into the wolds, clearing, killing, claiming. The forest struck back, until the Darrows made a pact. Give the weird a child, let him be raised wild, become part of the woods, and then hunt him, a ritual sacrifice, to show the forest men still had dominion. Each successful hunt won them another generation of safety, harvests, and control. He paused. "My son. 3 years ago, he was 6. Vanished. They said he wandered off into the woods, but I found his coat, torn, just lying in the middle of the path." James took us to his land, a mile outside the village, past a rusted gate and into a hollow glade. There were signs here, subtle but mistakable, stones stacked in spirals, bones tied with black twine, effigies nailed to trees, half man, half beast. "He's out there still," James said, pointing to the tree line. "They call him the Redling now. You can see him at the edge of the woods, just watching." We made camp in his converted tool shed, maps and photos on the wall, printouts and Polaroids pinned with nails, scribbled notations, bloodstains on an old Darrow crest. The air smelled of damp paper and cold steel. That night, by the crackling of a makeshift fire, we shared our stories again, deeper this time. I told them about the hare in Norfolk. Sophie told about the time she stopped a badger baiting ring somewhere in South Derbyshire and got glassed for it. Nick said nothing for a long time, then murmured, "Kandahar was easier than this place." Tom stared at the fire. "If they raised him wild, what does that mean? Does he still think like a person?" James answered, "You'll see, if he let you." And just as we settled into silence, I saw him in the dark woods, small, pale, draped in a fox pelt, eyes glowing faint ember. He didn't blink, just watched. So quoth this raven. "What? You're still here after the whole story? I really appreciate that, darlings. Please hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't. And I always love to hear from you. Have a glorious day, my darlings."